My niggas is
They are privileged to die at my feet.
let's see if I don't lag. Have a 2-second lag. Shepherd, Ghost, and Jungler. Alright, so I guess I'm bottom, I guess. Militia. Alpha SLSLT. Probably some guy that works in the military, cause this makes no sense. An alpha. You're either a teenager or a military guy. Same fucking brain. Women and guns. Yep. 10-year lifespan. I don't know. God, Tristana Veigar. The most evil genius of them all.
Summoner's Rift.
What have they freaking designed? Jungler we do have. Okay.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
Okay, we got a top. Got a jungler. And I guess some of them are mid, so I'm going bottom, I guess. Doors. There we go.
They will know war.
Minions have spawned.
Hadouken. It's real, like if I put always a person they can chill like recognize it.
Honor compels me.
Really large.
Do not provoke me.
So I'm bottom over. We're very strong today, pretty good. Yeah.
Immediately.
Too.
They will not enjoy this. My spear is restless.
I'm like, yeah. Evil legend.
An enemy has been slain.
Yeah, surrender.
Let us press on.
Oh wow, people suck. Yeah, good job for escape waiting for stats. Yeah. 20 minutes. There you go. Leave it before working. An unexpected has occurred while attempting to join the queue. Please visit player support. No. Blocked. Why am I blocked for 20 minutes? Whatever. Let's just watch some, where are you? This one. There's no choice, so. Our life sucks.
Hello and welcome back to coverage here at Grand Prix Los Angeles. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Paul Rietzel, and we're all set to go here in round number 10, where we have Andrew Beckstrom, currently ranked 25th in the world. He's playing against Ed Wimpenny, and we've got, well, these are two decks in that third category we talked about yesterday, aren't they, Paul? We've got green-blue Stompy in the hands of Andrew Beckstrom. He said this was kind of his own thing when we had an interview with him yesterday. And he's got his own take on the format. Ed Wimpenny, though, on white-blue Auras, perhaps the breakout deck of the format, or of the tournament? I don't know.
Certainly a deck filled with cards that I had to look up, you know, because it's...
The top 3 cards of your library may reveal a creature or land card, either. That's real good. Summon them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in order. Is it explore better? Well, it's not just the top, Scry 1, it's Scry 3.
It's not a traditional archetype in the format. It's not something we've seen a ton of. He's trying to put down, you know, a creature like Novice Knight or Adonto Vanguard or Knight of Grace that's difficult to interact with, and then just build a battle cruiser with cartouches and Curious Obsession and things of that nature.
Of course, one of the key cards in the deck right here is SRAM. Over at SRAM here and say, well, if I don't have an answer for him, which he probably doesn't, he's going to have to race, right? He's going to have to pile on as much damage as he can as quickly as he can.
The important card here for Ed in some of these race situations is Squire's Devotion. Squire's Devotion allowing him to get lifelink. And we've noticed one of the weaknesses of these green decks is that they have a limited amount of ways to interact with their opponent's creatures. SRAM is a card that mostly we've seen in combination decks in Modern, where you try to play a bunch of zero casting cost things and maybe with paradoxical outcome. Yep. Ed, a totally different take. He's using SRAM just kind of as a value engine to prevent himself from getting 2-for-1 by augmenting his creatures with auras.
Beckstrom able to get that early plan rolling that I mentioned. He's going to play Ronus, crew up, and attack. So Ed's already down to 16. Nice hit there. But here we go. Watch Ed roll. Look at this. Curious Obsession and a Cartouche of Knowledge. And remember, each of those drew him a card, plus an extra card, plus another extra card now. I mean, he's really churning through his library with this one turn.
He's going to be, you know, way ahead on cards, drawing tons of cards. He said ripping through his deck. He really needs to find some way in order to turn the race in his favor, because Andrew, as we mentioned yesterday, can make gigantic threats very, very quickly. If you have power and toughness, is that the kind of thing you're interested in? Andrew can bring that to the table. So again, Ed needs to find some way to gain life or be able to block what Andrew's doing.
Yeah, this is actually probably going to come down to one type of big interaction, where if Beckstrom can find a way to interact with SRAM, or if Ed does find a lifelink enchantment and can hit just even one time, it could completely swing the game in one direction or the other, depending on how it goes. Ed, kind of all in here on this SRAM right now. It's the only creature he's got on the battlefield, and, you know, that Curious Obsession really does.
Hold on, peoples. Oh, yeah, I'm blocked. Yeah.
Does encourage you to attack every turn with that creature that it's on. In this case, and here we go. Bang, bang. Steel Leaf Champion says Ronus just woke up from his nap, and it's going to crew up the Heart of Kirin. So that's 9 damage. And Ed, in one fell swoop, is down to 7. I wonder if that one hit with Squire's Devotion is even good enough at this point.
It might be, you know, but he certainly needs it. You know, the possibilities that he's going to be able to get into creature combat and have that be enough are unlikely. So I think that all of his different options start with Squire's Devotion this turn.
There it is. He's going to get a 1/1 lifelinker out of the deal as well.
1/1 lifelinker, importantly, can step in front of Ronus in a profitable way, so that's actually pretty relevant.
Oh, wow.
Cartouche of Ambition there as well. Is that what that one is? I just
Solidarity.
forget.
I
Thank
think.
you,
Yes.
Solidarity. I knew it was wrong. I couldn't remember what it was called. But still, like, what is he attacking for here? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6?
6, okay.
With lifelink, back up to 13. And, you know, realistically speaking, he should be able to kill Andrew next turn.
And he's only looking at potentially 12. You know, Heshep Oasis on the Steel Leaf Champion or the Heart of Kirin, so that's 5, 9, plus potentially another 3 is 12. Ed's at 13. So Ed actually looks like he has this lined up pretty well to me.
Now, you mentioned Commit to Memory.
Oh, commit or Walking Ballista are some of the cards that Andrew's looking here to kind of return the tide in his favor.
Oh, God. Let's see if he has it. If he has untapped land, Commit, send SRAM packing. I'll probably call this one a game.
But short of that, I mean, more big power creatures is not going to cut it. He really needs when he starts having to do things like put Heart of Kirin in front of a SRAM on defense, that's not a path to victory for him, given how many cards Ed is drawing.
God, I'd be so nervous if I was Ed, having like 4 auras on one SRAM. Just, ugh, it's no way to live.
You got to play one way. You know, you can see.
I'm not cut out for that life, man. He doesn't look worried about it.
No.
Ed's chill.
Well, he's got 2 Spell Pierce and a Dive Down in his deck, so he really is not a care in the world. And of course, when your opponent's got Heshep Oasis, a Forest, and a Wastes in play, it's not so scary.
Beckstrom is looking at this board like, what in the world am I supposed to do against this?
Importantly, Andrew had to use his energy to cast that Steel Leaf Champion. So even if he had a 4th land and a commit, it would have to be Hinterland Harbor, or another copy of Ether Hub for him to be able to even cast commit. So
he's going to cast the. He's going to attack with a Steel Leaf Champion. It can't be blocked, but there was no 4th land there for Beckstrom, and he has commit in his hand too.
Oh,
what a beating!
And this is the nightmare we were talking about earlier. He's going to have to put Heart of Kirin into combat on defense just to chump block a SRAM. SRAM is still going to be able to gain all of that life from the Squire's Devotion. So,
but then it gets interesting. Like, can Beckstrom win after that? If he gets to untap with 4 mana this time, thanks to Llanowar Elves.
he's going to need to find that blue mana. This is the problem, I think, with a lot of the 2-color mana bases in this format, is that if you don't find one of the dual lands, we've seen it with the red-black deck. If you don't draw Dragon Skull Summit or Canyon Seal, you just can't cast your black creatures, or your black spells, rather.
Draw a couple of cards off a Cartouche of Knowledge here. He's going to actually get that Vampire up in the air with the Cartouche of Knowledge.
Grip full of cards. He had to discard on his 3rd turn because he just drew so many cards. So
It's all about Trevor. Bullshit.
what a fun deck.
It still just makes me nervous, man. Oh, he tapped the wrong color of mana there, it looks like.
Okay, yeah, it looks like he needed to tap the Glacial Fortress instead of that island to cast Cartouche of Solidarity.
Well, it was a mistake. That's it.
Got it. So they had backed it up here. So they just quickly backed up because Ed didn't tap the right color of mana in order to play the white Cartouche. And so they just quickly backed that up, fixed it.
I missed devotion. That was really good.
In the situation, Ed is going to certainly attack with at least SRAM this turn. Be interesting to see what happens if he brings in the flying creature as well. I can't quite see what that red is. That probably just a vampire token off to the side there, or a first striking token. Maybe the first striking token from the first Cartouche of Solidarity.
Yeah.
Both of these players' decks are little glass cannon types. You know, they're not stock with interaction. You know, Ed, has really no way to deal with one of his opponent's creatures at all in his main deck. Andrew, we mentioned, has Walking Ballista and Commit, but certainly no way to actually do that yet.
Boy, he's got Arcane Flight now on this thing. There's no way he can make 2 lethal threats, though, with only 1 more mana left, right?
Highly doubtful, but he is forcing Andrew into a very uncomfortable block this turn. It looks like a chump block, as well as a huge chunk of life coming in from SRAM, still having a stocked hand and really being under no risk of dying from Ed's next turn. So even now, if Andrew is able to find blue mana to cast Commit on SRAM, I think the damage might be done at this point.
Yeah, because Ed has assembled himself 2 lethal threats now, right?
Yes, he built 2 battle cruisers.
Right, and since Andrew's taken a pretty big hit from the other one, what is it, 4 damage? Either one would be lethal next turn.
Right.
So
And
if you're
Ed's going
gonna play
to
this
bolster his
thing,
life
you
total
will
pretty
find
significantly here, thanks to
with
that SRAM
that
lifelink.
to avoid
back up to
specifically
14.
that. 2 fights.
Vigilance and lifelink are not always the abilities we see be the most relevant in standard, but here's an actual match where the players are wanting to get into combat with each other. So
Andrew did take 4, though, right?
should have taken 4 there. I think that vigilance creature got in, although
Well, I guess we won't need to find out. But, yeah, Ed.
I don't know. 7 minutes left.
Wimpenny, I mean, he did exactly what the deck's hoping to do, right? Turn 2 SRAM.
interested in probably. So he's trying to think of, okay, this comes in, this comes out. Archetypes are needs to do is get that creature, and then a lot of the auras replace themselves. So once he kind of gets his game going, he doesn't necessarily need to have the full 7 resources to be effective.
All right, we're underway here. Adventurous Impulse, a card that Andrew talked to us a little bit about when we did the interview with him yesterday. Said it can really help the deck along.
A little bit of a toolbox aspect he gets, a little bit of that tutoring. Also allows him to, to only play 23 lands as opposed to, again, a lot of the other decks, 24, 25, 26 lands in this format. Playing only 23 means he's less likely to flood out in the late game. Adventurous Impulse helping to smooth those draws.
Land go from Ed. And let's see if Andrew has something to... Yeah, this is decent. He's got a Servant of the Conduit. That can turbo out some stuff next turn, though. Ed's probably going to breathe a sigh of relief that it's not another Heart of Kirin. You'll see if he has SRAM this time, though, because that is one of the things that you'll note about a deck like this as well, is everything looked fantastic because he had the perfect card on turn 2, but as we see here with Knight of Grace, you don't always have it. And yeah, suiting up a Knight of Grace can be effective, but it's not going to look the same way that it did with SRAM because he's just not going to have 6 cards in his hand at all times.
Right, 2 mana 2/2s versus a green stompy deck is not historically the way that you want to go. So, wow. And there's one of the key cards we talked about. I mean, that's kind of exactly what Andrew wanted for his turn 3 play.
So now Andrew can threaten to just kill the Knight of Grace out from under a potential aura.
Exactly. So Ed can't just put an aura onto his Knight of Grace unless he has something like Dive Down to be able to save it from Walking Ballista.
Well, he's got Baffling End, so he's just going to be a little more proactive.
Interesting. So does he have a Dive Down here?
He's just going for Baffling End right now.
Okay. And one counter from the Walking Ballista has been pointed at the Knight so far. And now a second. So maybe a missed opportunity for Ed to attack for 2 damage there. I think with the 2/2 first striker, Andrew would have been... he may have just used Walking Ballista, but Ed could have probably snuck 2 damage in. Not that 2 damage is likely to be the decider in this match, but...
Yeah, the small edges do... like. Every once in a while, you get down to near the end of the game, and you go, this game would be a lot different.
And Ed there having to, after mulliganing, basically get cleanly 2 for 1 by losing.
I wasn't ready for that yet. It's a little early.
Yeah.
to run into a 2-for-1 like that. And look at this, a replacement ballista plus an attack from Beckstrom, and all of a sudden things are looking quite good for him.
The role assignment for Andrew is pretty interesting here. I think he would much rather be the control player, which is not a role that his deck is particularly well set up to be. But here, 2 of the 3 walking ballistas he's drawn. Wow.
Here's another situation where Ed feels compelled to just use a baffling end to get rid of a ballista, but Beckstrom can't really be too bummed about that. He got a couple of damage out of it. And the follow-up is the Knight of Grace. But again, the big difference between Game 1 and Game 2 from Ed's perspective is, okay, so he gets 2 for 1, 1 for 1, but he doesn't have SRAM. He's down to 2 cards left in his hand. And if he goes for an Aura here, okay, you know, you have a pretty big Knight of Grace, but Andrew Beckstrom's deck does have the ability to just sort of cleanly go over the top of a 3-3.
And Andrew has some absolute haymakers here. So things like Verderous Gearhulk, things like Vivian Reed could just absolutely decimate Ed here. So it doesn't seem like Andrew has access to those, given that he's kind of thinking.
Yeah, he has another commit in his hand as well. Well, there you go. A Steel Leaf Champion's a fine addition to the board.
I don't get it. What the fuck am I
Whoa. Oh, he tapped it for mana. Okay. Well, that actually did leave him with enough so that the Rampager still got to stay on the battlefield. So that works out well for Andrew Beckstrom. He ends up adding 8 power to his side of the board and says, go. Nice 2-2.
Although, again, from Ed's perspective, not the worst-case scenario.
Right.
And Ed looks over and sees, okay, Andrew's only got 1 card left in his hand. Ed doesn't know that card happens to be, again, one of the very few pieces of interaction that Andrew has access to, and that's commit. So Ed with some potentially false hope here that he can build that battle cruiser on the Knight of Grace. Andrew just needs to find a threat now to go with this commit.
Yeah, he's down to just a Rampager after that Thopter arrest took the Steel Leaf Champion away in chains. He does have a good attack here, though, leaving up the commit and just going ahead and attack with the Rampager if he'd like.
Oh, wow.
Oh, he's even going to just show his hand here with the Thrashing Brontodon pre-combat and make it so that Ed really can't do anything reasonable with blocks other than chump. So he's just going to take the damage down to 13, and Beckstrom's going to pass a turn back. He's down to a pair of 3/4s, but those are going to do pretty good work here.
And we talked about, with Thrashing Brontodon, was it going to be good in these post-sideboard games? Was it even the kind of thing that Andrew wanted to do? And being able to kill a cartouche of Solidarity, not that impressive. But importantly, there's that Thopter sitting out there that's locking down Steel Leaf Champion. So Andrew has the ability to get that Steel Leaf Champion back anytime he wants. So he could do something like block and sacrifice the Brontodon, or even bring the Steel Leaf Champion in instant speed.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if Andrew was going to use the Thrashing Brontodon on end step just to upgrade, but he's decided that he could get some utility out of the Brontodon first and still have that option later.
And Ed has some blocks he could make here, but none of them are too attractive. And one of the problems with Ed entering combat in non-SRAM games is how resource light he is. So again, we mentioned he mulliganed. Obviously had to take a 2-for-1 very early on, and now is really far behind on cards. And another flaw of these kind of rogue strategies, we see the draw for the turn being Novice Knight. When you're in this part of the game and you're playing constructed Magic and you're drawing 2-3 vanilla creatures at this point, you need to have higher impact draws to get yourself back into a game like this.
Novice Knight.
And here's that ambush play that we mentioned before.
Yeah, that did not work out well for Ed. Yeah, it looks like Andrew just said, well, I don't really know what you have, but I call.
Yeah.
And that did not work out well for Ed Winpenny. He ends up just...
Chiplet poker in a little bit. Oh, what? An unexpected error has occurred while attempting to join the queue. That's fine. Wow. This is League of Legends. So I've been waiting for 40 minutes now. That's fine.
Tossing the Knight of Grace into the clutches of that Steel Leaf champion. And a bit of a misstep perhaps as Andrew Beckstrom now turns his guys sideways. And yeah, Novice Knight can block the Rampager and soak up 3 damage, but it's just a chump
So
block.
that makes all the sense in the play.
Yadato Vanguard can as well.
It
He
is
can
what I
either
thought.
block and just let it die, or he can
Somebody is
pay
getting
for
paid
life to keep it
for
around,
having
but either
to
way,
that Q, that
things
low
are not
Q.
looking good for Ed. The good news for him, though, is that he is
He
up
always
a game
plays
currently.
stupid
So
pursuit.
this is going to be a game 3
feats
that
on
Beckstrom's
purpose.
forcing rather than Ed having
Really
lost
beats.
this round. We can still joke about it. Look at them. They're both like probably talking about what crazy decks it is.
Yeah, and Andrew, we mentioned right between game 1 and 2 that Walking Ballista, one of the very strongest tools that he can have in this matchup. He had 2 of his 3 copies of Walking Ballista on turns 3 and 4, and that both caused Ed to fall further behind in resources and prevented him from ever kind of building, one of those gigantic monsters that he needs in order to give Andrew any kind of a headache. So Andrew actually had a backup commit should anything happen that game. Certainly much more the way he wants the game to go. And you mentioned, of course, there's just a huge delta between games with turn 2 SRAM and games without. With turn 2 SRAM, it seems fairly brilliant. You see, it seems like every card that you're playing is so powerful. Adding draw a card tends to do that. When you're just kind of scraping by with baffling ends, it's a different look entirely.
It'll certainly be difficult to go toe-to-toe with some of the decks in the format.
It's important that Andrew, however, really just can't deal with a turn 2 SRAM. If there's nothing like Shock or a Braid or anything of that nature, he doesn't have any way to deal with it until basically getting a Walking Ballista on 2. So
he needs 4 mana either way.
Yeah, I would imagine that Ed, obviously he already mulliganed in game 2, and you have to keep most of your playable 6-card hands, but I would imagine he's going to be very aggressive in trying to find SRAM in his opening hand for game 3.
Yeah, because when you actually map it out, right, his 2 ways to deal with it both cost 4. He can commit to memory, or he can play a Ballista. But the window for the Ballista to actually kill SRAM is actually quite short.
Correct.
So that's not good. And remember, Ed's going to be on the play this game as well. So the window is actually non-existent in most. Like if Ed has turn 2 SRAM, it's going to take mana accelerators for Beckstrom to even be have a chance at it, and that just puts a lot of pressure on commit.
Yeah, and Andrew is so light on interaction in general. It's part of the it's the systemic issue for green decks that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
That Ed, we're harping a little bit on SRAM. There are a lot of non-SRAM games that Ed can win, just given how poor Andrew's deck is at interacting with his opponent's creatures. So Andrew wants to be the hammer. He wants to just play gigantic threats and put his opponent under pressure. Here's a 5/4, buddy. What are you gonna do about that? And Ed is completely, again, coming from a different angle in the format, and he can put Andrew on the back foot. So not a place where Green Blue Stompy is comfortable.
Which side of the table would you rather be on?
Ed, for sure. Yeah, I think that the way the matchup is, when you're playing White Blue Auras, you're just saying, let me count the ways that you can kill my creatures in your deck. And okay, 0 is a good way, good amount of removal spells for me to play against. So this is a dream matchup for White Blue Auras, and certainly to be on the play in game 3, I like Ed's chances.
Ed has been running it up here. He's 8-1 in the tournament right now, and as you mentioned a minute ago, we are going to be kind of starting to eyeball the top 8 here in just a couple of rounds. If Ed can pick up a win here and then maybe another one after, I mean, he's going to be in prime position to make it. I mean, not even like possible. He'll be in good shape. And we could see this deck get in. And remember, his friend, apparently, they were 7-1 and 8-0 or something overnight.
Wow.
Combined.
Impressive.
With this blue-white Auras deck.
there's one card that Andrew wants to see in his hand, it's Walking Ballista. If there's another card he wants to see in his hand, it's Llanowar Elves. And I'm going to guess he had
0 of either.
Yeah.
Also, Ed snapped that.
Ed looks like he likes his hand. Yeah.
I'm getting some good vibe from Ed here that he likes what's going on here. It must be nice, though, to be in Ed's seat for this matchup, right? Because normally you have to say, all right, well, I've got a bunch of auras, but one creature. What if they kill the creature?
No worries.
Like,
this is clean.
I've got a creature. Like, he probably ideally wants one creature and a bunch of auras against Andrew.
Absolutely. None of that dirty Vraska's Contempt or cut to ribbons or unlicensed disintegration and no one that's trying to prevent all combat damage or root snare or put your card back in your deck with the fairy. Andrew came to play good, clean, and honest Magic. I'm gonna put out some giant creatures and he's not trying to mess around with what Ed's doing. You know, he's friendly.
Novice Knight into Cartouche of Solidarity, man.
Beautiful.
What do you want from me?
Beautiful.
I suppose that Novice Knight probably does do good work against red, huh?
Sure. And again,
3 blocker for 1 mana.
Yeah, you mentioned it. I mean, that's Novice Knight in the Cartouche of Knowledge, Cartouche of Solidarity. That's pretty good sizing.
Okay, let's see if Ed has this ram. He had the tap land on turn 1. There he is.
There he is, but Andrew does have a Llanowar Elf, so he can accelerate here. And
isn't it just too late? I mean, seriously,
right,
like,
yeah.
Ed, Ed, next turn, you have to figure he's going to play some +1/+1 aura on SRAM, and boom, he's just out of range for the Ballista even next turn. Perfect start for Beckstrom under normal circumstances. And this does mean that Ed kind of needs to get the ball rolling, and also will probably need to find something to give him lifelink at some point. But here we go, draw 2 cards. Does he have a 1-drop aura as well? Oh no. And it's the Curious Obsession as well.
Yep.
And that means that he will once again have gone aura, draw a card on a cantripping aura, then aura, draw a card, and then hit you and draw another card. He drew 4 cards this turn, Paul. That's just a joke.
Yeah, it already looks like Andrew kind of has a 1-turn window to find exactly commit, or he's going to just fall too far behind.
Blue mana commit. That's where we're at here.
Yep.
So let's see an Ether Hub for the sweat, Andrew.
No, there's no sweat. He would have thrown it on the table already. Andrew's not... there's no thought process there, right? There's nothing that could possibly be better than doing that.
No, you're right. And especially because you might think, well, maybe he wants to wait to see if he casts another aura targeting SRAM, but it doesn't work that way because SRAM triggers on cast, so it would just be letting Ed have another card.
Another card and potentially access to things like Dive Down, Negate, or Spell Pierce.
Ooh, don't say that.
Yeah.
That just... yeah, again, it's too early for that stuff, Paul. I'm not ready for it.
So we're back to game 1 where Andrew...
Oh! It's 3 mana. It's going to be another. This is a productive turn mana efficiency wise, but can he? If he can't interact with SRAM, is he just going to lose?
He's in the same situation as game 1, where he really just wants to see Ed not gain life. You know, he wants to not have one of those life gain auras. So, you know, he put out a lot of power. He's threatening to kill Ed basically in 2 more turns. So he needs 2 more turns, and he needs Ed to not gain a lot of life and or, you know, find enough blockers to be able to survive himself. So Ed needs to obviously find a way to get 1 more power here for SRAM this turn, which should be trivially easy to do. And the reason for that is he doesn't want Aethersphere Harvester to be able to just block for free.
I am curious to see if he does not have... he's got a lot of lands in that hand.
Yeah, it doesn't look like a great hand, so, you know, Andrew Beckstrom fans, don't despair. He still seems to have a chance here. Is that an Adorned Pouncer? A little late for the Adorned Pouncer to be great.
It is. That's cool. He stacks up a bunch of stuff, gives it flying, and just kills you.
Yeah, but that's 4 lands in hand and 3 pretty bad-looking creatures.
He has what, Adorned Pouncer, Adonto Vanguard? What's the other one?
I think it's the Knight.
Really?
So not too hot.
Well, you're not doing it. And this does not have lifelink. Now, he is still attacking with some pretty serious pressure. And remember, if Beckstrom declines to chump block with the Harvester, there's another card going into hand. And he did get it as a Knight of Grace.
And it's another draft card.
Yes, yes it is. Adorned Pouncer has arrived.
Yeah, and I think a nice play from Andrew to not block there. Even though Ed is able to gain, a card draw from this ram, Andrew's probably figuring Ed has all the resources he needs anyway. So sticking my Ethersphere Harvester in there just to block is not the right path. And even if I were going to want to block, let me wait until he even augments it even more and get a more valuable chump block.
Ed has left up one Glacial Fortress.
But his hand is I mean, if Andrew took a look at Ed's hand, Andrew wouldn't even dare to hope that Ed's hand is as bad as it is right now.
Right.
That for it to only be lands and unplayable creatures.
You're the best, Paul.
Contextually
Just
unplayable.
Contextually.
Contextually.
Oh man.
So if Andrew has something to press the advantage here, then he's gonna put Ed under a major pressure to have a high quality draw step.
Yeah, I mean, just as the board sits, he has attacks for 11 damage with Ed at 15, and again, no lifelink in sight. Now, Beckstrom, of course, has to respect the possibility that Adorned Pouncer could be a flying, much bigger Adorned Pouncer next turn, and he's going to do so by leaving the Harvester and the Elf back to Pruitt. Still 8 damage. That's over half your life total, Ed. So I really do feel like Ed, if he finds, lifelink enchantment of various sorts, he'll be fine. So that's really interesting too. Thrashing Brontodon can actually interrupt that.
Mm-hmm. And Steel Leaf Champion's clause of not being easy to block looks pretty tough here, right? The Adorned Pouncer and all the creatures in Ed's hand, not effective chump blockers for the Steel Leaf Champion. So that's 5 damage right there of Ed's 7 that's representing.
Ooh, Ether Tunnel was the draw step there for Ed.
Yeah, I'll turn it off.
Is there a way he can chain together just enough to get that Adorned Pouncer lethal? Because he gets to draw a card off of his tunnel.
Everything I fucking own.
That has him getting in for 4. You'll have 2 mana left over plus a land drop to give as well.
Yeah, you turned off the...
Still tough though, right? That Llanowar Elves plus Thrashing Brontodon threatening to put a
to
interrupt those plans.
Right, absolutely. Plus the Brontodon can crew the Harvester before that happens. Yeah, it doesn't feel like Ed's going to be able to realistically piece together a win this turn. But what I'm really curious to see is if he has to finally pump the brakes here and stop attacking.
Curious Obsession doesn't like when you stop attacking. That's for sure.
You just have to stop.
I don't know why, but I'm gonna get the feeling that I'm going to get discriminated against again legally in the USA.
You just have to sacrifice the obsession itself,
Right.
right? So Ed could still conceivably have a pretty big SRAM to at least tussle with the champion.
I think one of the things that we're seeing in this game is why these green players keep coming back to the tournaments with their Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves look so strong in this game, accelerating Andrew into the turn 2 Steel Leaf champion and not letting Ed have the time that he wants to set things up. The weakness of Llanowar Elves, contextually again in Standard, is that it just dies incidentally to Goblin Chain Whirler, but here it's just been so strong.
Look at this, Paul. Ed is now cycling a land rather than playing multiple creatures, simply because they don't do anything against that Steel Leaf champion down on the ground anyway. Okay, that's pretty good. Though I wonder if he wanted that on SRAM, actually.
The good news about this play here is that even if Andrew were to use his... I'm sorry, no, what I was about to say was that he now has 2 blockers for Steel Leaf champion, but that's not true. Andrew could still shrink the Adorn Pouncer down to 2 power.
Right.
So...
And right now, what is SRAM sitting at? Let's see, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yep, but it looks like it's going to shrink.
The champion, yeah. Where maybe if you put the cartouche on the SRAM, you kind of guarantee getting the champion off the board. Though this is starting to really get awkward here for Ed.
And again, due to the...
I mean, his hand stinks.
Yes.
He drew another Adorn Pouncer in there somewhere as well. So he's got 2 Knight of Grace and an Adorn Pouncer and some lands. Yeah, and he does not attack, so now the Curious Obsession is going to fall off, and as you mentioned, Andrew also has the ability to mess with any one of these auras thanks to the Thrash B over there. And we're in a real position here where Ed, who had turn 2 SRAM, who has cast 5 auras this game, and just kind of bricked. He just found a bunch of air.
Yeah, and it feels like he's maybe a turn behind again, because despite being on the play, Andrew was able to disrupt that paradigm with the turn 1 Llanowar Elves and accelerate his entire game. I mean, look how much power he has out with 2 Forests and an Ether Hub.
Right.
You know? It's, that's a lot of beef.
No kidding.
Sizing on SRAM is a little bit concerning right now as well. That it's a 4/4, at least on its face, but can't really comfortably step in front of Greenbelt Rampager or Aethersphere Harvester because the Bronzodon threatens to shrink it in real time. However, you know, Andrew can't feel too comfortable about that. He doesn't want a situation where he passes back and has no way to prevent the Adorn Pouncer from hitting him. So, interesting spot.
Yeah, the Ether Tunnel giving the Adorn Pouncer unblockable, if he can't kill Ed here, does make that a scary proposition. Though, I gotta say, if I'm in Beckstrom's seat, the fact that Ed decided to cycle a land in the middle of that turn does lead me to think that, you know, he's not going to just combo off. But you could go Aura, draw a card, oh, another Aura, draw another card, and kind of do that whole thing. Right. 7 cards in hand for Ed, or maybe it's 6, but my goodness.
As we mentioned, Andrew in his wildest dreams, if he were at home concocting a hand for Ed, he would never dream that Ed's hand could be this bad, you know?
No, he wouldn't. But he has to be suspicious, right? After cycling the land, he has to be like, what is in your hand? So Andrew's going to do this trick where he plays the Greenbelt Rampager. It's going to generate an energy, and while it's in the battlefield, though, it's going to just jump into the Aethersphere Harvester before returning to his hand. And Andrew is now kind of carefully deciding what combat looks like for him at this point. Boy, it looks optimistic. Look at this. This is an attack for 14 if he sends everything in. A little bit complicated here because he does have 2 different that Andrew would like to shrink down. 1, though. And of course, Andrew has to be careful that he doesn't leave himself in a situation where he could die next turn under, you know, a reasonable circumstance.
So it certainly seems like the intuitive block is to put your token in front of the Greenbelt Rampager and your SRAM in front of the Aethersphere Harvester. I think that a lot of the ways in which you win this game involve a Dorn counter at this point, so I would be tempted to try to keep
They are privileged to die at my
if at all
feet.
possible.
If you block the Aethersphere Harvester with SRAM, you're kind of forcing Andrew to.
We'll be back after these messages. Oh, what do we got? Oh, there's no jungle. Oh, Hagar can jungle, okay. Top or bottom? Okay. So I guess bottom, cause we gotta get her. So I guess I'm going bottom. I didn't see that chat in all these games. Fucked up. With pleasure. Onward. Alright, we got flash and protect. Okay, so this guy is probably who's going mid. Yeah, I think I have to build offensively because of E. Yeah. He can just oops hit me and it's not good. This is so Velkos. Velkos. Infernal Akali. Hey, cool. Alright, so I had to build defensively, and depending which one of them gets fed. Alright, well, my best choice is what? I think the orange shield. Cause it's not gonna change. Flash teleport. I could go full AD. Only two of them got ignite. One of them's Akali, sadly. Yeah, she's going either top or bottom. Where the card does, he's going top. Yeah, he's got the smite for. Oh, he's really got a jungle? Is that possible? I haven't played in such a long time. Yeah.
Do not provoke me.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
God
30 seconds until minions spawn.
damn. Why don't go with the orange shield?
My spear is restless.
Minions have spawned.
Because I'm going top. Alright. Thanks for letting me know, asshole. I'm so happy, my diabetes.
They will know war.
You can wait to run away. Oh, it's closing.
It's really funny.
They will not enjoy this.
Well, if you're going top, why the fuck didn't you go top? Where the fuck am I going?
Let us. Onward.
Low priority. Starlight, good job, yeah.
I know my path. Their fate is cycle.
An enemy has been slain.
Honor compels me.
Damn it, this fucking lag, man. This ain't
Immediately.
fair.
Spear is restless.
Oh, come on.
Let us press on. They will know.
Has been slain.
Consider it done. I know my path. Honor compels me.
An ally has been slain.
Do not provoke me. Immediately.
I thought you were gonna fight. You're a dumbass. Alright. Let me change this stupid shit.
An ally has been slain.
Honor compels me.
An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Without fault.
God, are you fucking kidding me? Oh my God, Riot, you fucked this game so much. Look at that. I just fucking missed it right there. It fucking worked.
An enemy has been slain.
They disgrace the art of war. They will know war. Enjoy this.
I'm just lagging all over, man. This is alright, man. Where's
An enemy has been slain.
With pride.
An ally has been slain.
Immediately. I know my path.
Killing spree. What you have
Not provoke me. With pride. Honor compels me.
what the fuck is programming is? I really need to see that. Really do. Just right every time I'm down. Humanity does not need.
Do not provoke me.
Your turret has been destroyed.
My spear.
That's fucking like it.
Your team has destroyed. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
is they're playing fucking me. Just punishment. That's it. No? Stop fighting. It's always gonna lag.
They will know.
Smaller than the diagram.
Your team has destroyed the turret.
Let us press on. Honor compels me. They will know.
Just stop. Stop fucking dying. You, your mother, your fucking family. Fuck all you people. I'm being hacked. No fucking way.
With pride.
You're from Riot, really. God damn, I wish I could just kill you. Right there in front of me.
An enemy has been slain.
People like this.
An ally has been slain.
Come on.
Your turret has been destroyed.
I haven't played in a long time, and look at me.
An enemy has been slain.
Do not provoke.
An ally has been slain. Double kill. Your team has destroyed a
Let us
turret.
press on.
Killing spree.
know my path. Immediately. My spear is restless.
An ally has been slain. An enemy has been slain. Shut down. Shut down. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain. An ally has been slain.
They will know more.
We got better. Even then, we're still losing. I go back to you.
I know my path.
Oh, we need wards in your band.
My spear is restless.
Shut down. An enemy has been slain.
Do not provoke. You will not die alone.
Follow Garen.
With pride.
Follow Garen. Follow Garen.
Onward. They disgrace the art of war. Press on.
Right there. I'm dead, so I got left alone.
Team has destroyed. You have been slain.
I did a horrible mistake and I made the crash run.
An enemy has been slain.
Do not provoke.
An enemy has been slain.
is restless.
Spree.
Let us press on. Hey, look! I'm holding the world up!
An ally has been slain. Shut down. An ally has been slain.
They will know war.
Has been slain.
I know my path.
Everybody's just stuck.
Your team has destroyed a turret. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been slain.
Wow.
Enemy double kill.
Yeah, game's been thrown.
They will know war.
Need to get back. They're throwing away real fast.
Let us
Killing
press on.
spree.
immediately.
They got banned, dude. They got fucking fat cartons.
Do not provoke me.
I think you can pick them up. You can pick them up one by one.
Honor compels me.
The enemy's inhibitor is respawning soon. An enemy has been slain. An ally has been
Just lag. It doesn't respond to command. They're not. We can't do
My
anything,
spear
dude.
is restless.
Really one? I'm done playing late. It's stressful. Just gonna report the bug. They're not gonna fix it because, you know, they're white and they don't give a shit. So. Filter options here. No. Why are you giving options like these on a fucking MOBA? Jesus. No. Yeah. How do I report a bug? Collection, patch notes, play. No. Store. Loot. View shop. So there's no intuitive way. This question sign. Okay. Let's see. Riot game support. And see if I can report the fucking game bug. Let's choose category to find the help you need. Help. And it doesn't matter, this is gonna be a fucking hierarchy chat. See? I fucking knew it. This game is so dead. This game is so dead. Bye bye. 7:50, and what else can you do? You have to do eat, yeah. Oatmeal and stuff. Alright, thank you for watching, guys.